for June the 28th to order. And Ms. Hill, can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad.
Here.
Councilmember Barber.
Present.
Councilmember Berenson.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
On Zoom, present.
Councilmember Circo.
Present.
Councilmember Holman.
Present.
Councilmember Townsend.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow. Absent.
Present.
Excellent. We have a quorum. If you could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you to everyone here this evening. Thank you to our candidates who are here. This evening we're here for the vacancy in the position of Ward 1 council member due to the resignation of Dale Jacobson. The procedure for filling the city council vacancy is outlined in City Code Section 110-145. The 14-day period for taking applications for the vacant Ward 1 position expired on June 17th at 5 p.m. and there were 3 applicants that filed for the vacancy. Ms. Deborah Sue Hoffman, Mr. Brian Mills, and Ms. Victoria Schertzer were the applicants. This evening we have Mr. Mayor is absent, and at a previous work session, the council elected me to serve as the presiding officer, and as a presiding officer, I retain my right to vote. We thank the mayor for being participating this evening virtually. We also have Councilmember Burke, who is participating via video conference. He's participating under revised Missouri Statute 610-015, and he will retain his right to vote as well. However, should there be any point this evening where Mr. Burke is unable to participate via video conference, he will not be able to vote. This evening, we will have as we stated earlier, we have our 3 candidates, and thank you for being here. We will have 8 questions. We'll start with some opening comments from you. Each comments will be 3 minutes. Also, there will be 8 questions that we'll also ask for 3 minutes per question. Our Mr. City Manager, Mr. Raymore, will be timing each of you. Following those 8 questions, we'll close with closing comments as well, each being 3 minutes. And I also ask my fellow council members if you could hold your questions of the candidates at that time until all the questions are asked, and then I'll provide opportunities for each of us to ask questions of the candidates. Following the council questions, there will be an opportunity for any residents who are eligible to vote for these candidates as Ward 1 council members, potential council members, the opportunity to speak and ask questions of the council regarding those candidates that are here before us tonight. If there are no any other questions, I will go ahead and move on. So at this point, again, thank you to the candidates, and I will begin with the introductions and ask Ms. Hoffman if you please give us a quick introduction.
Thank you very much. Again, my name is Sue Hoffman. I am a native of the Kansas City, Missouri area. My husband, John, and I have been married for 49 years. John was an electrical engineer and manager at Honeywell for 42 years before he retired. And his last assignment for Honeywell took us away from the area and landed us on top of a mountain in Los Alamos, New Mexico. We have 2 children that also live in the area. Michelle is our daughter, and she is the Director of Elementary Education for the Ray-Peck School District. She also fostered 2 Raymour peculiar students for an extended period of time during her term here. Our son, Michael, is an IBEW electrician foreman for Capital Electric, and he has 2 children. We have 2 grandchildren. We chose to raise our family in Raytown, Missouri, and we immediately became immersed into the community with many different activities. One of my first ventures was Spring Valley PTA, and from there went to Girl Scout leader, chamber volunteer, and then I ended my time there in Raytown as a two-term Ward 5 Board of Aldermen, and also a 1.5 term I served as a director of the Raytown Quality Schools. I ended those, the Raytown Quality Schools appointment and election when we left for Los Alamos in 2002. I have had many opportunities. I've been very fortunate to have experience in 3 particular fields: banking, insurance, and chambers of commerce. I have had successful and exciting careers in those fields. In addition to working for companies, I have also been a small business owner myself. So I understand a lot of the challenges that face a small business owner. I've been through that. We moved back here to this metro area in October of 2017, and after looking around, we decided Raymore is where we wanted to settle. When I discovered that there was an opening for a position in Ward 1, I felt like it was an unexpected opportunity that I wanted to pursue.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Mr. Mills.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. My name's Brian Mills. My wife and I were married April 22nd, 1983, built a house and moved into it in Raymour in May of 1983, and been a resident of Raymour in Ward 1 for 38 years. Back in my younger days, I served a term back then it was city alderman with the city of Raymour, and then was North Cass County Commissioner for 3 terms, and very active there, and active also in the Kansas City metro area with chairing the Total Transportation Commission at MARC for several years, in the National Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations. My wife and I have been married 38 years. We have 2 adopted children, 3 grandchildren we love to spend time with. I've currently own and operate 2 businesses in the city of Raymour, BAC Associates, which is my insurance agency, and then I also have a company called 252 Leadership, which helps provide leadership training and development, communication skills, things like that. Excited about the opportunity. Had to take a break after about 20-some years in politics and actively in the community to spend a little bit more time with kids and family. And now I'm in a position over the last several years getting more involved back into the community, and want to take previous experience plus new experiences and continue to see Raymour grow and be the great city it was when I decided to move here in 1983. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mills. For our timer to catch up. Ms. Schertzer.
Hello, my name is Victoria Scherzer. I have lived in the Raymour area on and off for, I would say, the last 26 years. I'm a dance, voice, and piano teacher at Dancing Plus in Raymour, and I also own my own business called Platinum Performance Plus Talent Competition. I've had the opportunity to work with youth in the community for the past 20 years. I've worked with well over 1,000 children in the area. I have had the opportunity also to host many charity events. We've done a lot of work with the kids and putting on shows and fundraisers and things to help build funds to cover school costs for kids as far as like school supplies. We've done a lot of adopt a family to put the necessities for the kids for the Christmas holidays as far as like soap, socks, coats, those sorts of things. And we've also provided this opportunity for the kids to become a part of the community and to see what the need is in the area and how to help each other and how to build a stronger community. So my goal with running for city council or applying for this position is to become an even larger part of our community and to be able to serve more with everyone and for the kids and for the families. So I'm very invested in what happens to our city for the children and for our families and all of that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for your comments. At this point, we'll move into the questions portions of tonight's agenda. And as stated before, each of you will have 3 minutes to respond. I will alternate between the candidates, give you an opportunity to catch your breath in between questions so that I'm not asking you at the same interval, same sequence of questions. And if you kind of see me raise my hand, that would indicate that your time is up. Not being rude, just want to let you know, give everyone equal opportunity to respond to the questions with a similar time frame. So that being said, at this point, we're going to ask Ms. Hoffman. First question is for you. These questions, just so I can preface this, these are questions that the council has debated and considered the questions we want to ask this evening. So this is where these are coming from. The first question is, what experience have you had as a citizen of Raymour that have motivated you to file your candidacy for the position of council member?
I have had a lot of interactions with the different city staff members, and they've all been extremely customer service friendly and responsive. In addition to that, with the previous experience I've had on the council in Raytown, I felt like this was an opportunity for me to become more involved in the community, like I've always done wherever we've lived, and that I had some skills and experiences to bring to the table.
Thank you. Mr. Mills, I can repeat the question if you would like.
I wrote it down.
Outstanding.
As I mentioned earlier, some of my previous experiences, but recently over the last 8 to 10 years, getting more active back into the community. Been a active member of the Raymore Chamber of Commerce for the last 8 years, and have been a member of the Raymore Peculiar Sunrise Optimist Club, and currently the president-elect of that organization. I'm just a really big believer that our society as a whole lacks value-based leadership. So many decisions are being made today based on emotions and not values, and I think I can bring that to a great community. And I moved to this community when I was first married because I thought it was a great community, and I've been involved in shaping it, and it's time for me to get back involved. I kind of thought, hey, I served my time, let somebody else do it. But really, we can't walk away from our responsibilities within the community, and I want to be able to continue to shape Raymour as it continues to grow and continues to redefine itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schertzer.
Can you repeat the question?
Certainly can. I was going to ask. Please, and each of you, if you could adjust your mic so that those who are watching virtually have the opportunity to hear you clearly, as my mic wasn't on, so they have opportunity to hear you clearly. Thank you, sir. The question is, what experiences have you had as a citizen of Raymour that have motivated you to file your candidacy for position of city council member?
I've honestly had just extremely positive experiences here in Raymore, and I want to keep building on that. I see a lot of potential in the growth of Raymore, and just as much as it's been growing, like business-wise and houses and everything, I just see the potential with where Raymore can go. And in talking with members of the staff and community, everyone just seems very happy with everything, and I want to be a part of that, and I want to help it to continue moving forward in that direction. It seems that everyone seems to be working extremely well together, like a great team, and I think that it's important to keep that sort of dynamic and to keep things moving forward. I believe that everything has been, I feel that everything has been handled very well through everything. So I'm very proud of our community. I'm very proud of our local government. I'm really proud of Raymore. I'm proud of our police departments, and it's a phenomenal place to live, and I just want to keep building on that.
Thank you. And if I do pause this, I'm taking notes myself, so please excuse me if there's a pregnant pause in between responses to allow me an opportunity to finish my notes as well. I try not to keep the evening too long because of that. Next question. And this will start with Ms. Hoffman. The question is, in what capacities, if any, are you currently involved as a citizen of Raymore, such as homeowners association, any of the festivals that we have had, education, and so on? I'm sorry? My apologies. Thank you for keeping me honest. Thank you for keeping me honest. Mr. Mills.
Well, this one will be pretty brief because I think I covered this question with the last question. I mean, currently, I'm actively involved with the Raymore Chamber of Commerce and the Ray-Pac Sunrise Optimist Club, as well as doing business with many of the citizens in the community of Raymore.
Thank you. And my notes did say that I was supposed to start with Mr. Mills. I just don't follow my own instructions. Yes. And Ms. Schertzer, similar question.
I just recently became involved in the Chamber of Commerce, but my dance studio has been a part of the Chamber of Commerce for quite a while, quite a long time. I have gone to some chamber meetings with my sister Jennifer, who owns Dancing Plus. I've spoken quite a bit with Sherry, and I have basically been a part of that and met local business owners and kind of networked with everyone. I've also tried to help her with some ideas of what the chamber can do to build up more local businesses and local government. Not local government, sorry. As I stated before, I have done quite a bit of fundraising for the community and for the students at Ray-Pac and also at Belton. We've held a lot of charity events. We've also organized a lot of shows and things to help build community engagement. So I try and be as involved as I can and to get more people there, and I post sometimes on the Facebook community pages to try and help get more things going in the community and to help kind of make people aware of what the opportunities are that are out there to help keep everyone thriving and working together.
Yes.
So that's it.
Thank you. And Ms. Hoffman.
I have, my husband and I have been financial supporters of the Ray-Pac Schools Foundation. Currently, I'm the president of Eagle Glen Homeowners Association as of April of this year. I began, as soon as we moved into the area, to have conversations with the Homeowners Association that was controlled by Summit Homes, our developer. And so we've been working together the last 2 years on some projects that have not reached fruition. And there's a lot of deferred maintenance, so I was very excited. He appointed a 3-person board, and I was selected as one of those 3 and also elected president so that I can hopefully resolve these issues our first year as a homeowners actually controlled HOA. Also, I created and managed a Monarch project. And in the fall of 2019, I did a cooperative effort with Mr. Nathan Mustang, is that right? Nathan, and with the school district high school teacher, Mike Roberts, who also manages the greenhouse at the high school, and also with Kara Price, the manager of the garden center at Lowe's. So I found out that Raymore is a certified Monarch city, and our project involved purchasing outright some milkweed plants. Milkweed plants are the only host plant that monarchs lay their eggs on. And with this project, since the plants were already paid for, we were going to have a fundraiser sale at Lowe's, and all of the proceeds were going to go to the Ray-Peck High School restoration area project. We were on track to do a great job until COVID-19 happened. And so our sale was canceled in May, but I assure you, all those plants are still in the ground somewhere in Raymore. Hopefully, you'll see more butterflies.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question, number 3. And then we'll begin this question with Ms. Schertzer. What do you see as your role and the role of the City Council?
I think initially I will obviously work to educate myself and learn and all of that, but I think initially I will probably sit back and, I also ask questions, but I don't feel that I could or would want to ever at any point in time come in and take over. I think that this sort of scenario for me is something that is a little outside of my box, and I think that I need to learn and educate myself. So, which I have been doing. I have been watching some city council meetings on the YouTube channel, checking out the packets of what you guys are reading through, that sort of thing. So I am definitely working to educate myself and not come into this blindly. But I think that my role would be to support my ward and to find out what the families in my area are needing and wanting, and support them in that aspect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Hoffman, what do you see as your role and the role of the City Council?
My role would be one of a team of 8, and it would be important for me to sit back, listen, and learn. And the City Council itself oversees the revenues and sets policy for not only individual wards, but as an overview for the full city revenues. I might mention that I think that the City Council also should work closely with the mayor, the city manager, the independent fire department, and also the school district.
Thank you. And Mr. Mills.
I think one of the primary roles is to be a bridge builder between the community and the city and the council. To not just focus on the needs of one particular ward, but how things impact and can benefit the city as a whole, not to be narrowly focused, but to look at how we can make things better. I think it's important to take time to listen and learn and understand, to continue to try to realize that it's important to make good decisions, because a lot of times the decisions we make today have impacts on tomorrow. And it's a lot tougher to fix things tomorrow than it is sometimes to deal with things today. And so I think that's really one of the key parts, is to work, as Ms. Hoffman said, we have to work as a team. We have to cooperate, and we've got to be able to build bridges between the different organizations, the different offices, and also the different departments, but also the community as a whole.
Thank you. Question number 4. This will be for Ms. Hoffman. What would you hope to accomplish in this role in the next 9 months, and how do you want to go about it?
I would want to throw myself into receiving the knowledge of the past, present, and future plans that are on the table for the council. I would also want to make sure that the future vision of the city is very clear to me. And in addition, I would want to study the 17.5 square miles of Raymour and see the codes that are currently in effect as far as zoning codes. And I would also like to know if there are any future plans for expanding boundaries.
Thank you. And Mr. Mills, what would you hope to accomplish in your role in the next 9 months, and how do you want to go about it?
Thank you. Well, I mean, I have no specific agendas. My basic initial goal would be to listen, to learn, get reacclimated with the vision of the city, the things that are going on, the departments. The city has grown a lot over the years, and figure out a way that I can bring my experience, my values, my leadership to be an integral part of helping this current council, as well as the administration and the city departments and things like that, continue to move forward with the vision of the city.
Understand. Thank you. And Ms. Schertzer, what would you hope to accomplish in this role in the next 9 months, and how do you want to go about it?
I share the same sentiment that I don't have anything specifically or a specific goal that I'm working towards. What I do plan to do or hope to be able to do is to help the team collectively work towards what you have been working towards. I know that making sure that Raymour is not landlocked and expanding and trying to get more traffic through and in and out is something that is a goal for the community. So that is something that I would like to work as a team member to help see what we need to do to make that happen, build on everything that has been worked on so far, and just keep moving forward with what everyone has been doing. Like I said, I just have full support in what has been done so far, and I think that everyone has been doing a great job, and that's not anything I would want to come in and change. So just work as a team.
Excellent. Thank you. And question number 5, and we will begin with Mr. Mills on this set of questions. The City of Raymour's vision statement is dedicated to being a quality community in which to live, work, and play. How will you help the city become better in all 3 categories?
Again, it's, I don't have any specific agenda that want to accomplish, but what I'd like to do is to be able to, again, to listen, to be an integral part of the team, to bring my values, my knowledge. If you go back and look at my history, I had a very big passion for infrastructure and understand the importance of that. My goal would be, hopefully I could work with everybody on the council and the city leaders to continue to make that vision a reality. Mission statements and visions are there, but they have to continue to grow and become a reality, and to make sure that the decisions we make, do they meet that vision and that, or are they being decisions that are made off of emotion or just people's passions? And so I think that's something I can bring to the table.
Thank you. Ms. Schertzer.
I believe that our Parks and Rec department is doing a phenomenal job of, I believe we have a new park opening up, or that has recently opened. So I think just engaging the community more, supporting our Parks and Rec department, so that they can keep moving forward with what they're doing. Building on I apologize, I can't think of what it's called, but the traffic flow of getting everyone in and out, I think is something that definitely needs to keep moving forward, especially as we're building more housing and trying to bring in more businesses and that sort of thing. So I think building on our roads and our getting traffic in and out. I'm so sorry, I can't think of what the word is called, but that sort of thing. And then just really more community engagement. The more that we can reach out to the community and talk to them and let them know all of the fantastic things that Raymour has to offer, there's a ton going on here. So I think that just getting everyone involved, showing everyone what we have to offer here, I think that like our schools are doing phenomenal. Our police department is doing just a standout job of taking care of everything, which is why everyone wants to keep moving here and why our community keeps growing and that sort of thing. So working with that and keeping that moving forward is what I would like to keep working towards. So thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Hoffman, I can repeat the question if you would like.
Thank you. I believe that it's essential to keep up property values, and as one of the things that aids in doing that, I believe that residential and commercial property codes and ordinances should be reviewed frequently, and effective endorsement provided by the city. For working, I think it's very important to support the city, the businesses that are here now, to help them continue to be in business and be successful. And then in addition, I think it's important to seek and attract additional small businesses and large businesses, employers, so that we can provide more job opportunities for our residents and also more revenue to ease the tax burden on the individual homeowners. Another thing that's important with the living and working is to make sure that we have a sustainable plan to provide adequate road maintenance, both on arteries and collector streets as well as our residential streets. Lastly, on the Parks and Rec, I think that they have, again, done a super job in this community. They're always coming up with new projects and new ideas and new activities, and I think that they are one of the great things going here as well. I would continue to support them, and of course, we would need to always support the police and the fire in order to make this a safe environment to live.
Thank you. Moving on to question 6, and we will start this round of questions with Ms. Schertzer. After much discussion, the council votes on a particular thorny topic and one that you feel passionate about. The vote goes against your position on the topic. What do you do?
Well, I believe at that point I obviously would accept, the decision that was made. I would say depending on what the situation is or the topic is there maybe another way that that could be moved forward with, or another aspect that we could move forward with that? I guess I would need a little bit more of an idea of what the specific task was or that sort of thing. But obviously it's a team effort here, and majority rules, and there are going to be things, I'm sure that everyone on this council has come across something that they really wanted that didn't move forward with. And I think that obviously being a mature person, you accept that and you move forward with what needs to happen from there. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hoffman, after a much discussion, the council votes on a particular thorny topic and one that you feel passionate about. The vote goes against your position on the topic. What do you do?
I'm definitely a believer in the rule of the majority, and I know that so many factors go into the decisions that are made by the council: legal advice, administrative advice, and none of these decisions are easy. I also think that an individual counselor should not be making decisions based on personal beliefs, nor on their next election, which sometimes can happen. If I were on the council and I was voting in the negative and the council rendered a different opinion, I would immediately put my feelings aside and fully support the council's decision as a body, because I feel like that's my job.
Thank you. Mr. Mills, after much discussion, the council votes on a particular thorny topic and one that you feel is passionate about. The vote goes against your position on the topic. What do you do?
Well, I deal with this quite often, and usually my answer is yes, dear. But in reality, you know, if we operate in a business and professional manner and with a value-based leadership, we learn, you know, we have to respect each other's opinions. We have to agree to disagree. I'd learned that early in life. And, you know, afterwards, anything that happens, usually I take time to reflect. And what maybe should have I, you know, done different, maybe other outcomes, learn from it, maybe in the future, might be able to do a better job of communicating, maybe a better job of collaborating, that sort of thing. But we have to respect each other's decision and treat each other with honor and respect and be business and professional about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Almost to the finishing line. Question number 7. And we'll begin this round of questions with Ms. Hoffman. Is there a city problem that you think has gone unaddressed? If so, what is the problem? And if appointed, how do you address the problem?
At this time, I'm not aware of any unresolved issue for the city, and I have no agenda to seek one out.
Thank you. Mr. Mills, same question.
Yeah, basically, I think we've all made it pretty clear. I don't think any of us have an agenda that we're here to solve a problem or create a problem. You know, I believe it's just an opportunity to find out where we can fit in and where we can help make this city continue to grow and get better and better for not just us, but also the future generations.
I see. Thank you. Ms. Schertzer.
I believe that there is a problem in Raymour, but it's not necessarily Raymour's problem. So I would say the road on Ward Road, from 58 and all of that is kind of a little sketchy area. However, in that sort of situation, you have to take it upon yourself to educate yourself on the issue and find out why why this is going on. Why is this a problem? Why is this happening? So it's not necessarily the fault of the city council. It's not the fault of the city. It's actually, I believe it's a Cass County road, or there's an issue with that sort of thing. So if there were a problem, that is what I would do, that I would contact a city council person, or I would look and investigate and find out that information without assuming blame on someone, because there's always more to the story than what anyone really knows, for sure. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And the last question of the evening. Everybody's thankful for that. So, and I will begin this question with Mr. Mills. If you're appointed to fill this vacancy, would your intent be to become a candidate for election to the one-year term as a council member effective in April 2022? If on the other hand, you are not appointed to this vacancy, would you want to serve as an appointed volunteer member of one of the city's boards or committees or commissions, and if so, which one?
Well, yes, my goal and objective would be to, serve the citizens of Ward 1 and the city of Raymore. And so that would be to continue to move forward to fill out rest of the term and run for the election. I hadn't given it a lot of thought as far as boards and other parts of the city, but yeah, I believe that I would have some interest. Probably planning and zoning would be, if I had to pick one, would probably be one that I would probably enjoy or prefer or have more expertise in over the years. But yes, the answer to your question would be yes, I would run for office.
Thank you. And because of the length of this question, I'm going to repeat it for each applicant. Ms. Schertzer, if you are appointed to fill this vacancy, would your intent be to become a candidate for election to a one-year term as council member effective April 2022? If, on the other hand, you are not appointed to this vacancy, would you want to serve as an appointed volunteer member to one of the city's boards, committees, or commissions, and if so, to which one? Board of Appeals, Planning and Zoning, Parks and Rec, Raymore Arts Commission, and so on.
Yes, my intent would be to run again in the next election. I had actually had someone or a couple members or dancers' parents at the studio talk to me about running for city council prior to this opening when the election was happening, and it just was not the right time at that time. And then I saw this come up and I was like, maybe it's meant to be. So that's why I moved forward with that. But yes, it would definitely be my intent to run for candidate again. If I didn't get the position, I would be very interested in a Parks and Rec volunteer position. I do work a lot of evenings, so I don't know what that would look like. I honestly haven't looked into it at all, so I don't know if that would even ever be something that I could move forward with. But I am very passionate about what our Parks and Rec department does and the community involvement that they have. So I definitely think that is something that I would maybe look into in the future. So thanks.
Thank you. And Ms. Hoffman, if you are appointed to fill this vacancy, would your intent be to become a candidate for election to a one-year term as council member effective April 2022? If, on the other hand, you are not appointed to this vacancy, would you want to serve as an appointed volunteer member of one of the city's boards, committees, commissions, and if so, to which?
I would definitely run for election. I believe it's next April, am I correct?
Yes.
I would have that intent. And if I am selected tonight, if I'm not selected, then I would be very interested in becoming more involved. And I am interested, as I mentioned before, in the zoning, planning and zoning, or the TIF Commission, or actually any of the boards and commissions that the staff feel I am qualified to serve on.
Outstanding. Thank you. Well, this completes the formal questions for the evening. We thank you all for responding, and I'm sure my fellow peers have taken copious notes, as I have, and have a few questions for you. But at this point, we allow you an opportunity to breathe, gather yourself and get your thoughts, and we'll have some closing comments before we have council questions. And at this point, we'll start as we did at the beginning with Ms. Hoffman. Yes.
They will be very brief. As I mentioned before, I have always been involved in every community that I have lived in, and I have wanted to become more involved in Raymour, but just have not taken the time yet as far as a city position. This opening, as I mentioned, was an unexpected opportunity that I felt like I wanted to pursue because I do have experience on the Board of Aldermen in Raytown, and there are a lot of similarities. We're fourth-class cities, although you were lucky enough to get a charter, Raytown was not. I feel like I have a lot of experience to bring to the table. So I just welcome this opportunity to sit before you tonight and interview. And I hope that I am considered seriously for this position.
Thank you. And we have Mr. Mills.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say I don't think you can make a wrong decision here. I've been very impressed with the caliber of people. That's what makes Raymore such a great city and a great community. We do have some great citizens and people that want to get involved. If I'm chosen, again, I will commit myself to do my best to work with the commission, make the commission proud, make the citizens proud, make the city proud of what we can do as a group and as a unit to continue to make Raymore grow and be the great community it is.
Thank you. Ms. Schertzer.
I'm a small business owner, obviously, as you know, we've talked about, but I think it's important to know that with being a small business owner, you have to be really good at everything you do. You have to educate yourself. You spend extra hours at the end of the day reading about things and researching and studying so that you can do the very best job that you can possibly do. And I 100% plan on stepping into this with that same work ethic and idea. This is something that I would put 110% into and wouldn't, I would just put my all into this. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you all for putting yourself out there, applying for the position to be sit here tonight. And that concludes the questions portion of the evening. And we'll move into council questions at this point. If any of the council members have questions, please. Mr. Holman.
Will you dictate the order after I ask the question, sir? Or how do we go about how they answer?
It's similar like I don't want to say like we've done in the past, but you ask the questions and we'll let the question and answer kind of drive the evening, I would say.
So first of all, I want to applaud all three of you for having the fortitude and the courage to apply for this position and come forward tonight in front of us. I've been where you have been. I know Councilmember Townsend has been where you have been. It is an awkward, not necessarily scary, but an awkward scenario. Councilman Burke has been there as well, I believe. So we are, Councilman Sir, lots of us have been there, I forget. We don't do this very often, but I still remember the kind of butterflies in the stomach feeling. So again, I applaud you for being here. So my question's not going to be that difficult, but it's going to require a little bit of thought. So you all have applied for a position as a leader of our city, in this great city that we live in, this great, growing, thriving, vibrant community. Let's just say for purposes of this, each one of you you're selected, you're the selectee. You run and you serve as a council member for 5 years. I want you to think about, when you leave here tonight, how you would describe that city to someone not familiar with Raymore, and then after 5 successful years, from your vision, what that looks like. Tell me what is different 5 years from now, after you've been on the council, try to be specific as you can. What are the changes? What are the positives? What are the negatives? What are our challenges? That's my question, sir.
And we'll, I see. Yes, and we'll start with Ms. Schertzer.
Well, that's a difficult question. In 5 years, I would love to see the continued growth of our community, of our city. I definitely am looking forward to a larger high school for the kids. I'm looking forward to all the additional families that are going to be moving into the area here very soon. I also am looking forward to building more businesses for people to work in the area instead of having to commute and travel to other places. So bringing in more businesses into the area, I think, is great. What I would like to maintain with that also is the hometown feel. I think that is why everyone loves Raymour so much, is because it is a hometown. People know people here. Everyone knows everyone. And it's a safe area. So definitely maintaining that safety in our excellent schools. So the positive changes that I would like to see is more business growth and bringing in more families. But I also want to maintain our community feel, our hometown feel. So thank you.
Mr. Mills.
Well, at first I was glad we weren't going into the talent portion of the meeting, but after Councilmember Holman's question, I don't know, maybe I might have wanted to do a little tap dance or something. But, I always describe Raymour, as a community. And it's a community that's really multi-generational. We really don't ignore any facet of the community. When I first started in this community, about 50% of our population was retired. And that was a big priority, but we've managed to move and create a community where we were able to create neighborhoods so first-time home buyers could come in, people could have families, the schools could expand. But at the same time, we did that without sacrificing making it a good community for those that are retired, those that are seniors, those that are single, those that are young. And I think that's important, and I think we've done a good job business-wise at times, trying to make this a community where small businesses can thrive and feel like big businesses, and I think that's important. And I think 5 years from now, I would like to, hopefully, that our infrastructure has improved and expanded. But any community that grows, the number one issue and complaint is always going to be infrastructure. But I think that will grow. But I think if we can continue to take even greater collaboration to where it always feels like a community. I don't like to call it a city. I don't like to call it a town. I like to call it a community, because a community is where everybody is looking after each other and working for the good of everything. And I think from a business standpoint, if we can continue to make small businesses feel important along with the larger businesses that we bring in town, I think, again, that creates that foster community that everybody's working together.
Thank you.
In 5 years, I would see increased and innovative housing throughout the city of Raymore. I would see retail double. Commercial business that would provide jobs to our residents, and again, reduce the tax burden on the individual households, homeowners. I would see expanded boundaries as we grow, and I would expect the housing stock and commercial stock to be well preserved as we're enforcing our codes and ordinances. And I think, again, the Parks and Rec have already stepped up to the plate, and their continued involvement will only provide more activities for the citizens to become involved and feel like they are part of the community. Again, all this goes without saying. We need to maintain excellent police and fire department relationships.
Thank you. Any other questions of the council? Mr. Circle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I'm going to lead up to a question, and I'm going to ask you. When I brought my business here way back in the 90s, I loved the city. I wanted my business here, and then we eventually moved here years ago. But it was not, we moved here after I brought here because I found out the city of Raymour was a city I loved, I cared about, my family came here, but I love this city. I loved it. There's nowhere else I want to be, and I was always doing everything I can, want any kind of involvement to try to be involved in the community, a lot of nonprofit or whatever, because I thought even as a business owner or as an individual, we can give our time and sometimes finances because they need us. So I wasn't sure. I was in the chamber. I was committed to a South Kansas City's Optimist until I got ended it years back and got on the Sunrise. My question would be, did you ever think about getting involved, or are you involved with just organizations, nonprofit organizations, Rotary, Optimist, and have you ever thought about getting them just to give some time just for the community? Because it leads to so much. And I don't know if you're on the chamber or you do diligent to get involved with a lot of the chamber to get to these free nonprofits. So I guess I'll start with you, Ms. Scherzer, just kind of question on that.
I definitely.
Oh, no, sorry. I guess I got to go to Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you. To be fair, we're going to start with Mr. Mills, and then we'll move from there.
Well, yeah, I mean, over my 38 years here in Raymore, I've been involved in a lot of different organizations, whether it was Rotary or the Red Cross or other community groups. Like I say, over the last several years, I've been actively involved in the Chamber of Commerce, the Optimist Club. I'm involved in several, and I'm on boards of several not-for-profit organizations that aren't actually part of the city. Some of them do have impact within the city. But I believe it's important. I think that's how you start, is by giving of yourself. I try to operate under a principle of 60-40. I need to give 60% of the time and only take 40% of the time. And part of doing that is getting involved in organizations and not-for-profits in the area.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Scherzer.
Thank you. So my business has been involved here. Well, my business is a younger business. Obviously, we're in our 6th year this year, and we obviously dealt with COVID last year. My business is a national business. We travel all over the United States, but what I have chosen to do and what I work to do with my business is to use local businesses to supply the things that I need for my business, like printing and printing of programs and screen printing and digital design and that sort of thing. So I definitely work to employ people in the area, local businesses in the area. As far as what I've done with my dance studio in the areas, we have done Adopt a Family for the past 20 years. Each year we hold a local fundraiser where we raise between $3,000 and $5,000, which is all donated directly back into the community, be it through bill pay for people, canned good donations, those sorts of things. We've worked with the Community Bank of Raymore to work with them with Stuff the Bus, thank you. It's a big bus outside that always has a sign on it, that's where that was. But Stuff the Bus, and then I recently have become a member of the Chamber of Commerce. But with my dance studio, I have also worked with the Chamber of Commerce. And my sister's actually on the board of Chamber of Commerce, and we kind of brainstormed to come up with additional ideas of what the community can do. So I definitely work to be involved with more in the community.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions of the council?
You haven't asked.
I did miss one.
Yes.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. It is. Yes, it's a team effort. See?
Takes a team.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman.
Well, I believe each of you should have a copy of my resume that I submitted, and you can see I have always been involved in nonprofits. In fact, sometimes more involved than I really wanted to be as a board member, actually delving into the day-to-day when necessary. As far as chambers go, not only have I always participated and been a member of chambers, but I led 2 chambers, the Raytown Chamber of Commerce and the Los Alamos Chamber of Commerce. So I am a very big advocate of chamber participation on all accounts. I've also been a Rotarian and a Kiwanis member, depending on the community and which one takes the lead. That's different in each community. Right now, because of COVID and because of our move in 2017, my volunteer services are limited to the Kansas City Care Health Center and also Truman Medical Center Lakewood. So I'm very involved in those 2 organizations.
Mr. Circle.
I guess what I was trying to cut when I talked was the city of Raymore. Within our
Right.
city, I read your bios, so I understand all your bios, but actually within the city of Raymore, since you've been here, those nonprofit, any organizations that are within our city, the Raymore, that you can be part of or join, that's what I was curious, if you have joined any of them, kind of step forward with those particular ones.
Okay,
Yeah, for all of you.
if I can address that.
Yes, Mr.
When we moved here in late 2017, our daughter had 2 foster children that required morning, noon, and night attention. We were no more, well, we weren't finished with that responsibility, helping her when a close family member was diagnosed with cancer. So we went through the cancer process, treatment, etc. And then, when I was ready to venture out, there was COVID. So, 3 years haven't given me a lot of time to jump into some things here in the community. During COVID, though, is when I became involved with Casey Care and their programs actually going on site, even during the beginning of COVID, and also with making newborn layettes for the Truman Medical Center newborns. So that's the reason why we didn't jump into the chamber, which would have been one of my first. Yeah.
Thank you. Would any other candidates like to respond, or are you? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Any other council members? I forget who was first, so I would just, Mr. Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer.
There's that.
You're not Mayor Pro Tem yet.
No.
First of all, I got a statement and then a question. Is that okay? All right. My statement is, you 3 are the reason I live in Raymore. Like Mr. Mills said, we got 3 great choices here, and each one of you bring a unique skill set, and just like our city, it's a great cross-section of what we have. So I am so happy that you guys stepped forward, and then this is going to be a tough decision. I can tell you, I wish all 3 of you, I could make it right now, but we're going to have to come down to one. But my question is, and I believe I made some pretty good notes, all 3 of you are pro-growth. And Raymore is a growing city. We're growing within our boundaries, but we're going to have to make some choices outside our boundaries. We have some rural areas that are eventually going to be annexed by somebody. Is that going to be us? Now, Mr. Fairborn, I want you to plug your ears. If money was no object, and it is always an object, but if money was no object, would you annex, and where would you go?
And I will go with Ms. Schertzer.
I believe that I would like to push out a little bit further, possibly towards 150 highway area, to continue building out in that, area. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. 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 I don't know if that mak Yeah, I apologize. I don't really know how to keep moving forward with that statement. I think that, Raymore is going to continue to grow, and it is one of the leading cities in the area, if I understand that correctly, that people are wanting to move to. So I think that there is a strong demand for residents in our area. So definitely trying to expand those borders out, pushing out a little bit towards 150 highway, and maybe a little bit further out into the Cass County side. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mills?
Well, I mean, I definitely believe, that we need to go to the east. I mean, I believe that, the 291 corridor has future for growth in that part of Raymore, and also continue the south. Probably my biggest disappointment, I visioned, I was kind of if you want to say, the father of the Northwest Cass Parkway, and that was a dream of mine. And I spent a lot of effort and time, and we did environmental clearance all the way from, and I started in collaboration with Johnson County, Kansas, for taking it all the way over to 291, because I really believe the future of Raymore was along that corridor from basically 163rd down to Hubach Hill or 195th. And unfortunately, between the county, the city, different entities, didn't see fit to try to figure out ways to buy up that right-of-way. Didn't necessarily protect it through planning and zoning, and now it would be very, very difficult to take that road all the way over there, because we built some pretty big houses and subdivisions and things that were in the environmental area that was cleared. And so I think it's important that we look at that. Councilman Barber, that's a great question. Unfortunately, money is an object, and that's why there wasn't the money to protect right away, because there was other infrastructure needs that were more pressing at the time. But I think we have to not lose sight of that. Ms. Hoffman's come from Raytown, where Raytown is struggling because of being landlocked, and it's hurt property values, it's hurt things. And I mean, she could speak way better on that than I can, but I think Raymore needs to make sure that doesn't happen here. Grandview's faced some of those same challenges.
Ms. Hoffman?
One of the first things my husband and I thought about when we moved here was the comparison between Raymore and Raytown as far as landlocked. It's different because the landlocked in Raytown now is set. Other communities have annexed, and the city was not in a leadership position to seek the annexing that could have happened years ago. And as a result, they are in not a very good position as far as land. For here, I would be very interested in any of the perimeters where I'm not sure what the zoning is and who owns what property. Definitely east and south, and any pockets that we could find that between Mr. Fairborn and the city attorney, and any kind of recommendation, I would be very much interested in exploring the possibilities. Obviously, you have to have the funding and the time to do that, but I am very open to that subject.
Thank you. Is that your... Mr. Abdelgawad?
Thank you, sir. I'll start with, you guys are right on point. The number one thing about having a great council and moving the city forward is teamwork. We have an excellent staff that is a great resource of knowledge for us. They teach us everything we know. They tell us everything we need to know for the meetings. So those are the top two things you have to know: is be ready to learn a lot, and be ready to work together as a team. But also, as a council member, part of your job is to be the voice of the people in your ward. So I'm wondering, how will you know what your constituents want? How will you be able to be their voice?
And I believe, I didn't write down a note. I started with Ms. Schertzer, I think, the last question, so I believe I need to start with Ms. Hoffman at this point.
I'm very active in Ward 1, especially in Eagle Glen, and I would always be accessible to the residents and be responsive to any questions that they would have. Also, if there are different issues that I would often perhaps seek their opinion on what are their thoughts, what would they like to see. So I will stay in touch with all the residents in Ward 1, should I be appointed and then elected.
Thank you. Mr. Mills?
You know, I think it's a multifaceted answer. One, you do that by being involved in the community, being in organizations. It's important that you let people know that you are the council person in that area, and that to make yourself accessible, try to find opportunities where you can connect with those people, be responsive. But you have to be very, there's a fine line between, you know, being a champion of the people, but also being a sound steward of the city. Much like being a parent. You know, that fine line about being the fun dad or being the friend, but also knowing that there's fiscal things and there's other things that have to be done, and sometimes you have to have tough conversations. And I think that's the hardest thing. You know, I found sometimes, you know, when I was county commissioner, it's that sometimes you have to have those, listen and be open, but sometimes you have to have some tough conversations, because you can't just champion everybody's idea or opinion. Otherwise, everybody will hate you. You know, nobody's going to like you because you don't stand for anything. You're not focused. So.
Thank you. Ms. Schertzer?
I actually had the same question when I was getting into this, when I was applying for the position. How do I actually know what the people in my ward are going to want? And I believe that making myself available to the people in my ward and to the community, and the way that you do that is by being involved in the community, attending community events, just making sure that people know who you are and that they feel comfortable enough to come up and talk with you, being transparent about things and answering questions. If there's something that somebody is upset about or something that somebody doesn't understand, and maybe you don't understand, and saying, I'm not totally sure on that, this sounds like this is what your question is, let me find that out and I will get you the information on it. And just making sure that there's that open line of communication between you and your constituents, and also making sure that they feel comfortable coming and talking, and that there is open transparency. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Burns?
Thank you, sir. I actually was going to ask about annexation, but I had a second one I can go ahead and refer to real quick. Some of my colleagues here commented on this being a tough decision, and really it is. This is one of the toughest things that I've had to do up here. You guys have, I'm taking notes here and kind of scoring some of your answers on questions, and you've all answered questions that I was really happy with. And so this will not be an easy decision, I think, for any of us tonight. So I want to commend you and thank you. And it makes me also proud to be a member of this community when we have three solid citizens up here wanting to help the community, and all certainly very qualified to do so. So my question is real quick. I have three daughters. And one of my things I really, almost in a cheesy way, I'm really proud of the city. And I love going to events that we have, and I love taking my girls that are home, and they enjoy everything from Touch a Truck to different events in the park. I think one's going to try to do the mud run this year. So if you had a chance to kind of show off the city, if you had somebody in town or a friend, what are some of the things you would highlight in the city that you're the most proud of? And secondly, is there anything in the city that you would maybe not take them to? Is there anything that you think, man, this is kind of a part of the city that we really should spend some time fixing or changing, or I'm not proud of? So something that you're really proud of in the city that you want to show off, maybe one or two things, and then is there anything that you maybe would avoid or hope that we could fix later? Thank you.
Mr. Mills.
That's a great question. I never really thought about taking somebody on a tour of Raymore necessarily, but you know, our parks, I mean, I think the diversity of our parks, you know, so many communities, all of their parks are little cookie cutters. And I think there's that diversity of our parks I'm very proud of. We go to a lot of them. I mean, sometimes we'll just go sit down here at Hawk Ridge and get an ice cream cone with the grandkids and just sit there and enjoy and watch the people. The one area that I would like to see different would be maybe what used to be called the downtown area. I think the city's made great strides with the depot and the park and the splash park, but I really believe that could be more of a community within a community, such as a lot of other areas have done with some of their older areas, and figure out a way to maybe repurpose that and make what we would used to call Old Raymour, Old Town, more vibrant. Would be the one area that I would think I'd like to see improve. But right now, boy, we spend a lot of time up there at the park and the depot, and that's a phenomenal thing. And even at the recreation park, the new playgrounds. I mean, everybody's mentioned you guys have done a great job, and the parks has done a great job in creating playgrounds that are great for families. And I meet people every time I take the grandkids, and that's been a blessing for us.
Thank you. Ms. Church.
I am super excited about the Hawk Ridge Amphitheater, but I'm also a really big theater nerd person. So I am super excited for the opportunity to get to use that theater. And I actually took pictures of it and showed it to some of the studio families and that sort of thing. So it's something that I'm very excited about for sure. The Arboretum, I believe is how that is said, with the walking trails and all of that, is a really beautiful area. They're pretty close to where I live over in Ward 1, so it's a nice place to go, walk the dogs and that sort of thing. So it's great. Additionally, if I were to bring people here, I would definitely take them to some of the smaller businesses, because I think that is where we hold our charm, for sure. Like Kelly's 311 is a really awesome place to just go sit down and, have a glass of wine or have a meal with family, and people in there, and it's just, I think it holds a really amazing charm for the area, and that is definitely something that I would want other people to get to experience. I think that is part of what makes Raymour so great, is that we have those little diamonds like that make the area so wonderful. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Hoffman.
I think definitely the Recreational Activity Center is a wonderful asset that has been placed in our area for recently, and the ball fields that surround that, as well as the landscaping. Again, going back to the parks, on what a great job they do. Hawk Ridge, the first time I went up there, it was amazing to see all of the younger men in particular that were fishing. And they knew when that fish was going to be, the stocking was going to happen, and when the best time to come out there was, and they were just telling me all about it. And as a city girl that should have been raised in the country, I love to see that, natural talents such as fishing can be rejuvenated close to home. So I think that's great. And the walking trails. Another thing, in touring any neighborhood, just about here in Raymore, if you were showing someone the city, it would be, you'd be hard pressed not to see people out walking their families, walking their dogs, waving to other people. So I think that the city has a lot to show and to offer.
Thank you. And I want to make sure that we acknowledge, we obviously have Mr. Burke and Mr. Mayor on the line watching video conference this evening. And I want to make sure I didn't miss the opportunity for you to ask questions if you had any this evening.
From the mayor's perspective, I'd be just fine. I think the thoroughness of the questions that were provided to the candidates in the initial forum were great and all-encompassing, and I like the backup questions as well from the council. I'm fully satisfied you all should be able to make a great decision tonight. It's going to be a tough one, but I'm sure you'll be able to come to one tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe Mr. Burke.
This is Councilmember Burke here, if I could.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My internet is super, but honestly, we have done twice the number of questions in the time that I was appointed, and also the time that Councilman Townsend was up for appointment. And I think we have gotten a lot of good information here. So I thank you, the three of you especially. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And if there are no more questions of the council, we'll move into the portion of the agenda where we ask for input from any of the citizens of Ward 1 who have the opportunity to vote as residents of Ward 1 on these potential candidates. If you please step forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and if you would keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Seeing no one running to the podium, we'll move on at this point to now making our candidate selections.
Mr. Presiding Officer?
Yes, Mr. Holman.
Sir, I move at this time that the vacant city council seat from Ward 1 be filled by the person receiving at least 4 votes between the following 3 applicants: Deborah Sue Hoffman, Brian Mills, and Victoria Scherzer, and that the city clerk allow votes to be taken by roll call, with each council member reciting the name of the applicant of their individual choice.
Is there a second?
I will second that motion.
Outstanding. Thank you. And as Mr. Holman has stated, as Ms. Hill calls the roll of each candidate, as we have Mr. Burke participating this evening via video conferencing, will be roll call, and we'll ask if each council member would voice their candidate this evening with your vote. Ms. Hill.
Councilmember Abdelgawad.
I just need a minute. Can we pause and give us a moment to look over our notes?
I'll ask Mr. Zur, we have a motion and a second on the floor. A point of order, are we able to take that was my apologies for not asking before. Just want to make sure that we get this correct on the record. Can we take a pause to review our notes?
I mean, you could technically always recess, but you do in fact have a motion that is under vote right now.
Yeah.
It would be my preference not to, if you're able to do so. If we need to go out of order or alter the order for purpose of being able to reconsider, you're welcome to do so.
Could they withdraw the motion in the second until after the break?
Absolutely could. Or table. Withdraw.
Presiding Officer Townsend, I would at this time withdraw my previous motion.
Yes. Is there a second?
I would second that.
Thank you. The motion that was on the floor has been withdrawn and seconded. At this time, we will stand in recess for 5 minutes to review our notes so we make an informed decision. So thank you, and my apologies. Thank you. We're adjourned, and we will reconvene. We'll reconvene at 8:30.
Hey, Joe, your mic is on. Now you're good.
will reconvene the special city council meeting for June the 28th. It is now 8:30, and we're just waiting to make sure Mr. Burke jumps back on the call, and he is back on. So I'm looking at a couple of screens because mine is not on, but I see him. He is good to go, and I got the thumbs up from staff that he is visible. So at this point, I would entertain a motion.
Before I make the motion, sir, which I will, I'd like to make a statement, if that's all right.
Yes.
So as I told you, many of the council, maybe as much as half, have been through the process, some version of the process that you have been before. And as you've heard many of the council members state, this is a difficult decision. I think we have very quality candidates in front of us tonight. Do not be disheartened if you are not selected tonight, because the majority of us that are up here were not selected in the form that you are setting. Ran later on, filled another open position later on, went to a board or commission and ended up on the city council. So this is not an ending for two of you. Many times, in fact, history has shown it is simply a beginning to opening and getting more involved with the city and kind of moving around. So I just wanted to make sure everybody, I know they told that to me when I was out there. I think the other people would agree they've heard that as well, and I think that's a philosophy we all subscribe to. We welcome your involvement with the city in whatever form that you choose to provide it. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. And I'll add to that, Mr. Jacobson has texted me personally to give his thanks. He's watching this evening and extending his thank yous for your attending tonight. It's been said numerous times and reiterated, it's a tough challenge for us tonight to have to select one of you. And we were jokingly speaking to that this is probably the most difficult than even running for election, going through this voir dire that we go through tonight. But thank you again, as I said before, for putting yourself out there and willing to serve in this time frame. So at this point, I believe all is said and done.
I would add that Councilmember Jacobson also went through the process and was not selected.
Yes, he and I sat in that very seat, and we answered those very similar questions. We were not chosen, at that point. So, but the council made an excellent selection, and it obviously has done well over the years. So, at this point, I would entertain a motion.
Presiding Officer Townsend.
Mr. Homan.
I move that the vacant council seat from Ward 1 be filled by the person receiving at least 4 votes between the following 3 applicants: Deborah Sue Hoffman, Brian Mills, and Victoria Scherzer, and that the city clerk allow votes to be taken by roll call, with each council member reciting the name of the applicant of their individual choice.
Is there a second?
I would second that motion.
Thank you. The motion's been made and seconded. At this time, I'd ask for a roll call.
Councilmember Abdelgawad.
Thank you. Let me just say again, thanks for the recess. I really needed a chance to look over my notes and give this some good thought. All the candidates, I love that teamwork is your top priority. You have no agendas. Some great experience in the 3 of you that you could be bringing to the council. Lots of passion, and you all seem ready to learn and just jump into the position. But my vote will go for Victoria Scherzer.
Councilmember Barber.
Thank you. And again, like I said before, this is a tough decision. But as you said before, it's not the end, it's the beginning. My vote would go to Victoria Scherzer.
Councilmember Berenson.
I think we could pull names out of a hat tonight, and I would probably go home satisfied that we picked a good candidate. So again, I want to thank you all for being here. My vote also goes for Ms. Victoria Scherzer.
Councilmember Burke.
Victoria Scherzer.
Councilmember Circo.
Endorse Mr. Mills.
Councilmember Holman.
Victoria Scherzer.
Councilmember Townsend.
Victoria Scherzer.
Mr. Mills has received 1 vote, and Ms. Scherzer has received 6 votes.
Thank you. Motion passes with a vote. Thank you. The motion passes with a vote of 6 for Mrs. Scherzer And congratulations to all the council candidates, excuse me, for each of your applications. And based on the outcome of the vote, I would ask Ms. Mills to read Resolution 21-21.
The reading of Resolution 2121, a resolution of the Raymore City Council appointing Victoria Scherzer to fill the unexpired term of the vacant City Council seat in Ward 1.
And I would entertain a motion to dispose of Resolution 21-21.
Presiding Officer Townsend?
Mr. Holman.
Sir, I would move at this time that the City Council approve Resolution 2121C, appointment of Victoria Scherzer to the Raymore City Council.
Is there a second?
I would second that motion.
Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will entertain a roll call.
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Aye.
Councilmember Serko?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes. The motion, excuse me, the resolution is approved. And per City Code 110-.145, subsection A5, Ms. Scherzer will be sworn in at the regular scheduled meeting on July the 12th, 2021.
That is correct, sir, as the first order of business.
As the first order of business that evening. And going through my notes. Again, before that concludes the business for this evening, before I adjourn, I would just like to again reiterate to all candidates and applicants who applied this evening, thank you for stepping forward. As has been said in your opening and closing comments, and as illustrated in your resumes, please continue to serve the community. Based on your input this evening, I have every confidence that you will continue to do that, and we look forward to seeing you throughout the communities. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Presiding Officer Townsend?
Mr. Holman.
I move that we adjourn this meeting of the Raymore City Council.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'd second the motion.
Thank you. And I believe we need a roll call vote at this time. Ms. Hill?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Serko?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes. We are adjourned.